Okay. Hey guys, we are doing it a little bit different today. I'm sitting here with the amazing Ty Hunter. And if you don't know who Ty Hunter is, then you must be underneath some rock or somewhere, or you are just not you just not in tune to fashion if you don't know who Ty is. So I'm doing it a little bit different. I'm sitting here and I'm talking to Ty via Zoom. So we just gonna go with it, and I'm just gonna start asking Ty some questions. I mean, I feel like you don't need an introduction, but if people need you to introduce yourself, then you can introduce yourself. But we're gonna be talking about Ty's book, and we're gonna talk about everything Ty. So, Ty, introduce yourself.
Uh, Thank you for having me. I need to carry you with me everywhere to do that intro, by the way. I'm Ty Hunter, celebrity stylist, designer, fashion director, and now author. I'm really, really excited about this, the book, and thank you for having me.
Of course. It's so funny because it's interesting because we have been, in each other's presence so many times. I'm sure you might not remember me or whatever, but it's fine because I know we see, so many people or whatever. But we're always in different spaces. Like I've always ran into you at Purvis Ross, it's his showroom and things like that. And I'm like, so when I seen that you had a book, I'm like, Ty has such amazing energy. So I'm like, so I was like, you will be the perfect person to talk to for my podcast, because every time I meet you or like when passing or in any type of situation, just your energy and your aura is just so sweet and so kind. And I'm like, that is the fashion person that I would want on my podcast, because that's what my podcast is about. It's about happiness and positivity and meditation and manifesting and everything, and just new beginnings and taking on to just new journeys of life or whatever. So that's what this podcast is for. So I'm like, Ty is the perfect person to talk to.
Thank you. I love your energy always as well.
Thank you. So you have your book, which is amazing, and I definitely want to dive into that. But usually, what I do with my podcast is I like to dig into the person, who they were, like the beginning of their journey, because I feel like your childhood is basically the foundation and that blueprint that creates who we are. And a lot of times people get to meet the adult version of us, and we don't get to get into the head and the mind of that child that that basically birthed who we are as an adult now. So my question to you is, can you describe little Ty Hunter, little Tyrone, when he's in his imaginary world, when he was a little kid? Who was that?
Little Tyrone was raised by amazing women. My mom, my grandmother, my great grandmother, and my godmother. And I had amazing uncles that were around. My mom was the only daughter, the only girl, and she had 5 brothers. But I was mostly around women. And so just watching him get dressed to go out clubbing. My mom, I remember her and my aunt used to like copy the Natalie Cole hairstyles and like get ready. And the beautiful thing is everybody, even my cousins and uncles, they always wanted my opinion on how this looks. Do I think I should do this shoe or that shoe and stuff like that? I had an amazing imagination. My brother is 5 years younger than me, but before he came, I just remember always like, just playing around with different jewelry and my mom's chest. And I don't know, for some reason, I used to put this damn towel on my head like it was hair.
I did that too. I was obsessed with Boy George.
I used to get away with it because my uncle, whenever he played basketball, he would put the towel on his head to like cool off. So that was my way of saying he knew it. But I would just get dressed and stuff. But I loved fashion. I loved being around elderly. I loved being around the older women that was there. I remember sitting on the porch, younger Tyrone, and this lady named Miss Bullison sat in the back. So instead of playing with the kids, I would just sit there and just be a sponge for all of the old stories and stuff like that. I just always loved that. And I loved thrifting. Young Ty used to love it. And back then, like, it was like, you got on Goodwill, you got on Salvation Army, like, it's bad thing.
Exactly.
But I was so good at, putting together outfits and, creating that I didn't get teased. So, yeah, that was pretty much it. Just loving fashion, loving being around the elders, and just being a sponge to like old stories and learning history through the elders.
I love that. You was an old soul. Definitely an old soul. I love that. I used to do put the towels on my head too because I was obsessed with Boy George, so I would put the towel on my head and
Yes, Boy
tie
George is
like
it.
put the hats on, tie things around. I
Yeah.
used to be going like my mother's like, "What are you doing?" I used to be layering things on because I just like loved fashion and stuff like that. And she was just looking at me like, "Okay, I don't know what's going on with this girl," but but I loved it. So I love
Yeah.
so, and it's funny because okay, so I was reading the book and I saw that you know that story, not that story, but I saw all the beautiful women in your life, and that your mother was a young mother, and I'm so glad she had that support system. As a young mother to be raising you at 19, like no, that had to be difficult in the back and forth with the relationship with your father and stuff like that. So like it's such a good read. Like I love the book because I love the
Thank,
pictures and the stories. It's such
thank you
a
so
great.
much.
So I want to tell people the name of the book is Ty Hunter, and it's the makeover from within, and lessons in hardship, acceptance, and self discovery, which I feel like we are all, definitely need to take that journey. If we haven't started that journey, we definitely need to take that journey. Um, so another thing that I wanted to talk to you about, there's so many things. Like as I kept reading the book, so many different things kept coming to me, and I'm like, okay, I definitely want to tap into this. I want to tap into that, and I just kept seeing different things, and I'm like, okay. So, but you told us about yourself and being raised by your young mother, and then you also mentioned. I know that's kind of like diving a little deeper, but in that part of like being yourself and your mother letting you be free to be yourself, you mentioned in one chapter, I think it was the chapter, it might have been chapter 2, you might have mentioned. I remember you saying that sometimes you had to alter your personality around your father, and like especially like further reading it, that's so understandable. But like explain, to other people that's listening, like in your life, and I know it probably came up, like did that come up other times in your life where you had to alter your personality and kind
Yeah,
of dim down who
I
you
was
are?
I was just raised, like I said, with a lot of women, and I
Mm-hmm.
just that was my comfort zone.
Mm-hmm.
Being around women. I wasn't into sports,
Mm-hmm.
and I had feminine traits.
Mm-hmm.
And I was a pretty boy as a
Mm-hmm.
kid. Like people
Mm-hmm.
used to confuse me and say, "Oh, this is a cute little girl," and I'd be like,
Aw.
"I'm a boy." But growing up, and then and I must say, I'm so blessed to have family and loved ones and friends, and even my
Mm-hmm.
girlfriends. Even though I had little feminine traits, I
Mm-hmm.
still dated girls. Like,
Mm-hmm.
you know, the whole gay experience didn't happen until I was 22. But
Right,
just being
right.
young and being myself, but then I realized society, like, I would go out somewhere and be called the F word or a punk or
Mm-hmm.
whatever.
Gotcha.
And so I knew that I had to emulate
Mm-hmm.
what manhood looked like. And
Right.
so, yeah, it was a hard thing
Mm-hmm.
to not be, but I can say behind closed doors and
Mm-hmm.
just with family, friends, and loved ones and cousins, I
Mm-hmm.
was myself.
Mm-hmm.
But, when I got outside the world, I knew that I had to like butch it up a little bit and be a
Right.
little bit more masculine just to
Right.
be accepted. And it wasn't even worrying about what people had to say to me because as long as you don't touch me, I'm cool. I
Right.
had built up a strength, but I
Right.
can say like my homeboys,
Mm-hmm.
growing up, or my, 'cause I didn't want them to have to go through like, oh, you're gay because you're hanging with this gay guy, or
Right. Right.
the gay. Like I was worried about them because I'm pretty much good.
Mm-hmm.
I, when you get teased so much, being black for one and being gay, those
Right.
two things you just build a thicker skin. As long as you don't
Exactly.
touch me, you can call me anything because I know who I am and I'm a child of God, and the
Exactly.
judgment is in that man's and the beholder. So I don't
Exactly.
really, I don't let those things get to me.
Exactly. And it's such a shame that you even have to, like, and to have to put on these faces and stuff like that, and people with the judgment and things like that. There was a piece in there that you spoke that like really resonated to me, because I have a friend who's gay, but like he kind of try to hide his life to protect his family and friends too, because he doesn't want them to be ridiculed or judged or whatever, which he shouldn't have to do that, and live this basically like a secret life, like you mentioned, living two lives, like, and it's like such a shame that you even have to do that. But it was you had made mention of, you knew like in the church, what the church was basically saying to you wasn't true, because you know that you was a good person, God loved you, God created you, and that's all that mattered. So like, I really love that part, because that's I had a conversation with one of my gay friends, and he was saying like how, he grew up in Italy, and he had to try in Sicily, well, same place I got. I guess same place. So he had to like, try to, pray it away, and he just felt like it was so wrong. And I remember us having this moment. I'm like, you're not wrong. Nothing's wrong with you. Like, you are who you are, and you were made perfectly. You're such a giving, loving person. How is that wrong? So, you know. So moving on from that, because it's like you're so much more than that, and you know, that's what it is. But I also like, I love that mention of you was just saying that, oh, this is what I really wanted to talk about, like our love for fashion, and like when did that develop? Well, like you mentioned like it developing, because it's funny because I'm talking and I'm like, I read the book, but I'm trying
but
to,
those who don't know,
but those who
it kind of
don't know.
stemmed from my dad taking me, and this book was it was so therapeutic. Like, I'd never been to therapy, so once you really like write down and say things out loud, you kind of connect dots and know why things are the way they were, and why this move happened, because it was setting you up for something that was later. My dad is such a sport. He was such a sports person. He loved sports. Everything was sports. Everything he talked about was sports. My brother, even my mom is a Dallas Cowboy fan. Like, they loved sports, and I was like anti-sports. So growing up, like, I just wasn't into sports. And so my dad took me to a Diana Ross concert as a very, very young kid. I think I was like 11. And that concert just really, I just fell in love with it. The hair, the makeup, the feathers, the rhinestones, the fabrics, the gowns, like all of that. I was just like, I need more,
Yes.
And I think that really just, it's amazing, because I felt like that was my way of my daddy like bonding with me, and I really got it when I wrote this book. Like this manly man takes his son to Diana Ross of all people. What is he? You know what I mean? And so it's beautiful, and I really have to say that sparked the ignition to just want to be more in this thing called fashion.
Right. And in that piece, when you was telling that story, you talked about the costumes and how they just was like layered, and they went into so many different pieces, and one costume transformed into another costume, to just the feathers and the furs and the stuff like that. And I'm like, oh. And then like you mentioned, like back then we really didn't have beautiful black women that was just glamorous to even look up to, or just to see in that way. We always had the Elizabeth Taylors and those beautiful women that was fabulous and glamorous, but we didn't have those women ourselves. So like that Diana Ross, and then you mentioned Miss Dominique Devereaux from Dynasty, Diane Carroll.
It was a whole other thing. I was
Yes.
like, yeah.
And so that's where I got my love for fashion too, because that prompted me to become a stylist, because I used to watch Dynasty with my mother, and like just looking at the glamour that was on that show was,
they could touch that back. Like, that was it. The hair, the makeup, the furs, the diamond, all of that.
Yes. I feel like no show has touched that since. Like,
no.
It's just amazing. It's funny because I posted on my Instagram the other day. It was a scene with Diane Carroll and and Jackie Collins, not Jackie Collins, Joan Collins, Jackie Collins, her
Alexis
sister,
Kobe.
yeah, Alexis
Yeah.
Kobe, yes, and it was, I could tell that this girl must have been young, and she commented, she said, "What movie is this from?" I'm like, movie? You don't know this is Dynasty?
Y'all better learn.
Y'all better learn. Like, y'all can't call yourself fashion people and never watch Dynasty. You better go
Yeah.
and get you some of them old videos. Go on YouTube because it's all up there. But I love
Yep.
it. So I was like, yes, that's where I got. I love that got me into my whole fashion mode as well. Like, that's what got me into doing styling and designing and stuff like that. Just that era of beauty and glamour and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I want to talk to you also about so there's a couple of like things in here like that you like I have so many bullet points, but just like when you chose the transition and basically choose it's funny because like when you decided to leave Beyonce, you would have thought that me and you that don't even know each other had a whole conversation, because when people say, "Oh, Ty left Beyonce," and I'm like, I know he chose himself and he wanted to have his own career. It was like you would have thought that we had a conversation, but I understood why. Even before reading this book, I understood, not like being a stylist and knowing that you have another calling and there's so many other things that you want to do in this lifetime and so many other goals that you want to achieve. And when so I remember those points where one person, like you spoke about, Barack Obama asking you, saying to you about, kind of like a what's next type of question. And like you did this, and then that was like the bell that went off, like, okay, yeah, I am more than this. Like, I can do something else. Like, I remember years ago when I was working selling light bulbs. I was selling light bulbs and like telemarketing, and I remember calling this man and I said, "Oh, I got these light bulbs. They last for 7 years. Blah blah blah." And he said, "Ma'am, get a real job." And like within that second, I hung up and I walked out of that place, and you know,
Wow. And sometimes it's triggering, and it's like
yeah.
even the job that I had was like everybody wanted that job, but Obama, he was like, "Where do you go from here?"
Right.
He's like, "Let's be honest, that's beautiful." He's like, "Where do you go from there?" Because that's like the ultimate. Like, where do you go from there? And so that always played in my head. And there were a lot of things that I wanted to do in projects. So after doing On the Run 1 tour, it was time for On the Run. They gave me 3 months off. And in that 3 months, I just started creating. I could have took a vacation like everybody else and posted selfies on the beach.
Right.
All of this, but I just started like hustling and doing and grinding and doing other things. I dabbled into the tech world. I designed a clothing line and just started like pursuing other dreams and passions. And it was a beautiful thing because I learned so much about myself because I had the time to put into myself. And Beyonce understood, and she was very supportive. And I didn't tell anybody that I quit or anything because I didn't quit. I just kind of just moved on and to another book. I wouldn't even say another chapter, but another book of life, and just learning more about myself. And she's my sister, and Miss Tina and everybody has been so supportive in everything I've done. I've worked with her several times after that, but it was I'm glad that I took that jump because it allowed me to learn who was really there for me and who was there for my connection to what I did. And so people thought I got fired. People started acting different. Showrooms, designers, everybody started acting different. And it was really a wake-up call because I am one of the nicest people on the earth.
You
and I must say that.
That's the truth. You ain't lying and you're not to your own horn.
Thank you. But to learn that, who was there. So I just feel like that had to happen to clean the slate, the plate of people that wasn't truly there for me. So when this moment where I'm living now and this journey that I'm doing now, that car that van that was full of people, I done took out seats because I'm riding with just a very, very elite crew that's here for me, and it's a beautiful thing.
It's so true. No, I totally agree with you and understand that whole thing. When you make that transition and you really start to see people for who they are. Even when I stepped away from, I remember when I was in the process of stepping away from doing styling full time and styling celebrities, and I was trying to. I remember going to Thailand because I was like I was on this spiritual mission, like, and I thought that when I sit on this rock and meditate, it was gonna say leave fashion completely. That didn't happen, but it was like, but it was like, but I was just peeling it back because it was just like it was for me. I, you know, my journey with it, it was just it had became so heavy and so stressful, and me being an empathic person, like anytime that people had any dramas or stress, I would feel it. And it was like so much, you know, stress and just overwhelming. And I just wasn't happy in it anymore. And so I wanted to move towards mental health. And I started speaking to people, you know, mentioning that to people. And I remember this one person that I was working with her magazine. She said to me, "You want to leave fashion and do mental health? Good luck with that. I don't think that's going to work." And I'm like, whoa. So immediately, I love
when things like that happen because it really motivates. It's extra motivation that you need to not just prove to them, but prove to yourself that let me tell you, when people tell me I can't do something, that's when I really do it.
Exactly. I immediately blocked her. I was like, no. So, and then when I left, you know, out of doing fashion, you do start to see, you know, who's there for the ride because there's no more red carpets, there's no more events, there's no more this that you can come along to, or, you know, people that you thought that were your friends, like editors and stuff like that, are like, oh, okay, well, next you're not doing anything that serves a purpose for me anymore. So I totally get that, totally understand that piece, because I learned that too, and I'm sure it was way on a bigger level for you, but I definitely learned that. And you know, sometimes I realize that a lot of times people are not here for the next steps, like that what the universe have set up for us, and they weren't supposed to go along for the ride anyway. So it's like cleaning house. So
yes.
So yes. No, I totally get that. So there is a couple of bullet points that I wanted to talk about, because like some, like in chapter in chapter uh in chapter I'm gonna like flip back and forth because I have chapter 2 here, 5, 6, 11, 8. But I'm gonna, because we kind of tapped into the path of the purpose, but like when those triggering things that made you like, okay, let me change up what's going on, like in chapter 8 in path to purpose, when you met Joseph Kahn, and he said to you, you know, what he said in reference to you're wasting your time here, or like you tell the story.
I worked in Austin. I'm from Austin, Texas, and I used to work in the medical field. I used to work on artificial heart valves, and I would sit under a microscope, work on heart valves, and made really good money. And one day I was getting dressed with one of my friends, and I found out he took his shirt off and he had a scar. And I'm like, "What's that?" And he's like, "I have a heart valve." And come to find out, my really good friend, I didn't know. And I was like, "Why you didn't tell me? You know, I work." He's like, "Well, I've never said nothing." But this place that I made really good money became a place that I dreaded, because my numbers started going down, because I knew I was making it for other humans, but when things hit home, it just, you look at things differently. And so the president, and I'm from Austin, I was working at a heart valve company. I found out a friend of mine had a heart valve, so this place became a place I dreaded. Numbers went down. I was like, I just need a break. So the president had family leave, so I went to my boss and I told him I was having family issues. I made up a lie just because I needed at least a month or two to get away. And I called my cousin who lived in Houston, Texas, and I was like, "Can I stay with you for a month?" So I packed my car and went to Houston. The plan was to go for a month, and you could go up to 3 months, but my boss was like, "You can come back. We love you here. Go handle your family issues." And my family issues is just me finding myself. And so I packed my car up. I moved to Houston. And to get away, you know, I realized I didn't want to go back to Austin. Houston was what I needed. It was a melting pot of different cultures. And I was able to be me and live. And I went from Tyrone to Ty. And I was okay with being called Tyrone. Uh, but the thing is, Erica Badu had called Tyrone. They came out and just get these, and every time somebody said my name, they would sing that song. So I hated the name Tyrone. So I was like, no, my name is Ty. So I get there, I'm Ty, and I realized I wanted to stay. So I started doing window dressings for different stores in Houston. Then I was working at a store called BB, and I had met Miss Tina prior to that, working in another store that I worked in called Booyaka. But when I was working at BB, it's kind of where everything started really going. And I was in there, and I had just watched the making of Janet Jackson's video for The Nutty Professor. And Joseph Kahn was the director. And I was we used to watch making of the video all the time. So I was just obsessed with the video, and I loved the Japan animation. I loved the wide leg jeans, the fashion, everything was so edgy. She had a razor haircut. It was just like Japan anime. I was obsessed. And Joseph Kahn just did an amazing job. The video was just very different for its time. And so he walked into BB when I was working there, and I was excited. I was like, oh my God, this is Joseph Kahn. So I went up to him, and he looked at me. He was like, do you work here? And I was like, yeah. He said, you are wasting your life away. And he said, no, really, you work here? And I was like, yeah. So he looked at me, he said that, and he pretty much like walked out.
Oh my God.
And that just really messed me up, because I was like one of the top salespeople at BB. I made really good money, and I knew that wasn't like where I was going to be for the rest of my life. You know, I knew it was a step, but at the same time, I wasn't stepping fast enough. Like it was like, so this place became a place I dreaded, like the heartfelt place, when I found out my friend. So my numbers started going down, and I knew I needed a different change or whatever. Miss Tina came in. The girls are growing. Destiny's Child is growing, and jumping, like they're just moving and shaking. And I had met each girl kind of separately, and I wasn't starstruck. Like Michelle would come to town, we'd go to lunch, and we would hang out. Kelly, I knew her; she would come in. Solange was a kid; she would, I knew everybody. And so one day they were filming, and when I worked at BB, they were doing a day in the life with Destiny's Child, and they all came in, and they all ran. Everybody's like, hey Ty. And Miss Tina looked at me, and she was like, I'm gonna get you out of here one day. I didn't believe her, but I had a day off one day, and I called her, and literally the rest is history. I was like, Miss Tina, I'm just seeing if you need help with anything. And during this time, I was dating someone who was strung out on drugs. They had gave our card to the drug dealer. It was like my account, cleaned out my account, just going through a lot of stuff, and I never showed it to anybody. I just kept moving, but I was really going through a lot of battles at that time. And I just called her one day and say, I'm just saying if you need any help. And I needed this day off, by the way, but again, needing a day off.
Right,
but
exactly.
I was like, let me just, change my mindset and do something different. And she was like, yes, baby, can you meet me here? And I met her at Jaime, who was the guy who actually helped create her looks that she sketched and stuff. And the rest is history. I immediately started working on the Survivor video at the Grammys. And that's how my career started.
I love it.
And what I must say that really is all the way is that during the time, back in the day, like certain stores had CDs where they'll get a bonus song or two. Like Walmart had an extra track, you could get a CD, or Target. So Destiny's Child Target CD had 2 extra bonus tracks that you could only get exclusively at Target. And we had to shoot the commercial for that. And so, like, after I started working for them, like 2 or 3 weeks later, we go shoot this commercial. And I look at the call sheet, and Joseph Kahn is the director for the commercial. Yes. And so I was just so excited to just go up to him and say, and he was like, see, I told you, like, exactly. And, God is amazing, because he will put you in those spaces if, you just take the leap and jump, and he'll meet you the rest of the way.
That's funny, because that's what I was just getting ready to say. Like, it's amazing how, and each of those moments is like when God showed you that, okay, this is it. Like, I always say the universe lets you know, like, when it's time. Okay, time here is now. Let's move. And anytime with change, like, it gets uncomfortable. Like, it gets so uncomfortable when it's like when the universe, God is telling you it's time to move. And I love that, just like with reading the book, I love how when you got those signs and that message from the universe, because I feel like when people come and they tell you certain things, like with Joseph Kahn saying what he said, and with Obama saying what he said, and even the example of your older coworker who was working so hard and working to save the older man, and he was saving up all his money for his retirement, and then 3 days later he passed right after retirement. It's just like these are the signs from the universe saying, hey, let's do this, like
Yeah.
it's time to move.
I believe we got to learn to live in the moment. We're
Yeah,
so quick to worry about, like, I'll live when I get this, or things are going to happen when I
right,
get this. But the really loving thing is learning to live in the process and love the process.
right.
This is the life. You got to live life on your journey to where you think, this is it. I made it, because you made it when you was born. I made it August 20, 1972.
Yes.
That's when I made it. So that's when
Yes.
life started for me. So I
Okay.
just finally got to a place of learning to, you know, enjoy the process, because when you don't do that, when you get to where you think this is where I'm supposed to be, you find out you still have that same feeling. So you have to learn to love life in the process of the journey.
Right, right. And that's so true. Like, and that's why I'm always, and on my podcast, I'm always like really stressing to people, like, follow your instincts and get into your intuition and feel like trust your gut. And I was saying that I want to teach my children to trust their gut. Trust when
Yeah.
something doesn't feel good for you, or when you know that there's more that you want to do in life. Just trust it. And you stepped out on a lot of faith. And I do
Right.
want to, and I'll like kind of start digging into another part of, because we're kind of running out of time here, but get into the part of like when you was in those dark moments, how you was able to work your way out of them, like the dark moment of like in chapter your chapter 6, being yanked from the closet, and just all of that stuff was going on with you, like how you got through those those dark times. Like, what did you rely on, like, um with spirituality, like things like that, like what?
Definitely spirituality, and just, learning that, well, during that time, it was just a mess because I was in a suicidal state. And it was like,
Right,
when you really fall back and just say, I'm really worried about what other people are thinking about me, but how do I feel about myself? And I had to just really pull that rank and just really take full control, because I was allowing somebody to puppeteer me, and to make it moves for them. But what do I want? And so I had to just take a chance, and I said, whoever I lose in this process, they weren't meant for me anyway. So it was just a moment of just standing up and just facing it, and just really going through the storm, because I had to really believe that light was on the other side. And so that's kind of how I live life now. It's like, I'm human, so I do allow myself to go through things, but I give it an expiration date. I'll be like, okay, Thursday, you got to pop out of it.
Exactly.
So I have to write on a post-it, like, snap out of it and put it on my mirror, on the refrigerator. That. I give myself an expiration date. I'll be like, okay, well, Thursday I'm going to get up, I'm going to shave, I'm going to get dressed, and I'm going to go somewhere. And I'm going to, let this go. It's okay to eat the bad food and do the bad things and use the devices to get. But, I just really feel like in order to really get where you're going, you have to learn how to really live in the storm, and get the lesson that you're supposed to get in the storm to just help you get through the storm to the light. And it's just preparing you to be a better person for tomorrow. And so a lot of times now, I've been through so many dark things that it seemed like once I hurdle through it and make it through it, greater things are on the other side. So
Exactly.
thick as this may sound, I get excited sometimes, if something is going, because I really have programmed myself to just weather the storm, and just like, Lord, what am I supposed to learn from this? I'm in this storm. You got me going through this. I'm a good person, and this and this. And, I feel like a lot of it is just us you got to learn to be alone. You have to learn to take social media breaks. You have to learn
Oh
to
my God,
your
yeah.
fasting. Fasting consists of, not just food, but what are you watching? What are you listening to? Who are the people you have around you? Are they motivating you? Are they uplifting you? And so it's just really stepping back and just really placing people and things, just making it a point to allow myself to go through things, because we are human. And, I just feel like a lot of times when we're depressed or going through things, we tend to drink a lot, go out, have sex, masturbation, all these kind of vices for this quick fix instead of just facing it. And just learning how to just face it and go through the storm and learn from it, and giving it an expiration date. And so that's kind of how I get through things in prayer and meditation, learning to be alone, taking vacations by myself. Journal is so important. Like writing your journal, because when you write things out and you visualize them, it just works, And some of these things, people have that make you bored, your vision boards and stuff. Like I know for a fact, like when I constantly say things and see things, they're happening, and I'm a living witness to that. I'm a walking testimony. So it's just important to not give up and just constantly, and if it's people around you or things that are hindering you from getting to where you need to go, you need to let them go. And I'm just saying, I don't care if it's a family member, if it's something blocking you from your blessings, clear that lane out, make way, because this is your life and it's important for you to live it for you.
Exactly. No, I totally agree with that. I was just saying that to a young lady the other day. That it's okay to cut family members off. It's okay to cut off your mother. If that person is toxic, it is okay. You have to choose you and your own sanity. And I like that you said, I have to start journaling more, because I used to write things. I'm a big believer on manifestation. And I swear, like, I always say this too on my podcast about manifesting things and writing things down, because like I literally manifested my life and manifested my career by writing it down and just putting it out there. But I need to journal a little bit more, and I'm gonna adopt your expiration date on. I've been wallowing this too long. I'm moving on.
I'm gonna eat this bad food. I'm gonna do this X, Y, and Z. I'm gonna go have a few drinks, but tomorrow or the next, like whenever, like this is it. Like snap out of it, because life is literally what you make it. We don't have a remote control. Nobody's got a remote control to make you happy, mad, or sad. It's all about how you choose to feel. And so I believe it. And even if it's faking it till you make it, you fake that. Like, I'm not going to be worrying about this man, or I'm not going to be worried about this job, or this, things that are keeping me from being my full potential and giving, making me feel my best. So I just really believe in and literally allowing myself to go through it, but put it up. You done. That's it. Tomorrow I'm not crying about this. I'm not going to allow this thing to hinder me from my blessings or standing in the way for me, knocking out these goals or finding my purpose.
Right. And that's another topic that I wanted to touch on. Like, that's the basis of why I created this space for us. Because I created this podcast mainly for like creatives like you and myself, because we do go through so much, especially mentally, and dealing with the the craziness of the industry, and just dealing with depression and things like that, and having those dark moments where you would consider taking your life, and the stigmas that even come along with depression, or getting help, or getting um, having therapy or stuff like that. How would you, because with the whole situation that just happened with DJ Twitch and him taking his life, and people looking from the outside, looking like, oh, he has everything, why would he take his life, and not understanding that depression journey and what that looks like, and where he felt like, that was his only option. Because I dealt with this a long time. I dealt with mental health issues and depression and suicidal thoughts for a while. I just recently started therapy, but meditation is what saved my life, because it was something that it was like it plagued me since childhood because I came from an abusive childhood, and so it plagued me for years since I was 14, or probably younger, but like really took its peak at 14. But just on your take on just the stigma connecting, especially with black men, with depression and just that the whole mental health aspect of it. How do you feel with society and the stigmas around, being able to even be open, and like even like you just even saying that in your book is a huge step. And other things that you said was, that you made mention to in your book was a huge step, because sometimes we hide so many things, like, assaults and victim, being a victim of certain things. And just like, what would you say to a person who, like another black man like yourself, that's going through that dark, you know, moment, but he doesn't want to open up and talk to people about it, and that stigma that of being depressed or suicide is weak, as just coming from a weak person.
I just think, being black and being, like I said, being black and gay, it's those are two things in this world that, was looked down upon.
Right,
And we have to fight daily.
exactly.
And, I just think being a man and being a black man, we was taught to man up. You know what I mean? Don't cry, man up. It's this whole masculinity thing that just kind of, I think, really hinders people from allowing themselves to communicate. And so what I would say to them is to find that person, because me personally, I'm everybody's therapist. Everybody call me. I don't call nobody, to be honest with you. Like, I go through these things and figure them out myself, which is sad, but at the same time, I've learned to work it out. But I must say, you have to find that hardcore group of people, places, or things that bring you happiness. And whatever those things are, whenever you feel that you're getting to that dark place, one, you have to tell that voice in your head, like, leave me the hell alone, because I have purpose and I'm here for a reason, and it's not time. Like, you have to really learn to just control that thing, because it will bother you, and like it knows to leave me alone, because I literally physically in my mind, like, shut up, like, I'm not allowing you in this space. This is my life. I'm in control. Leave me alone. And you just have to get to a point of just finding your happy places and those things that make you happy, and utilize them. And find that person, that close person that that you can communicate with, because we all do need a dumping source, or just somebody to listen. And if you don't have anybody that you can call, there are programs, there are phone numbers, suicide. Like, don't be ashamed to go to those things, because you do have a purpose, and there's a reason why you're here. And that's just not the answer. Suicide is just not the answer.
Exactly. Amen to that. Exactly. No, I love that that have that conversation with that voice in your head, because that is that voice is loud, and that voice is persistent. And if you're not strong enough to fight and battle it out with that voice, it can really consume you and
sometimes it's simply just changing your surroundings. And I'm not saying everybody got to up and move, but sometimes you just got to get out and take a walk in the park. You know what I mean? You got to clear your mind, or take a vacation, like I said, by yourself. I just learned to do things alone. And once I did that, when you really learn to be alone and really in tune with your soul, and when you're looking at the person in the mirror, like truly loving that individual, that shell, it just makes things different. So it's just really learning to really learn more about yourself, and learning to be alone.
Right. And that's true too, because I think sometimes that alone part is what kind of scares people, because sometimes they feel like they're too in their head and they're scared to be by themselves. But then sometimes that's where the answers come,
That's where all the answers lie.
Yeah, in the
Seriously.
silence. They lie in the
Yeah.
silence. You have to
Mhm.
go get quiet and get in tune with your inner voice. And that's what
And
meditation
even
teaches.
like I celebrate by myself. Like if I get a
Mm,
deal with this, I'm going to a nice restaurant. I'll order me a nice glass of wine and a nice
yes.
meal. Go to the movies by myself. Go travel by myself. Like when you
Mm,
learn to be alone and truly love yourself,
mm,
anything that's added, like relationships or whatever, friendship, partner, whatever, that they not supposed to be the meat. You know what I mean? Like you're the meat.
right.
You might add a little side to,
Right.
whatever, but nobody should be your completion. You should already be your completion
Right.
and just, added perk when you add somebody else.
Exactly. No, I love that. I love that. I remember years ago saying something similar to my niece. She was young and she's like, I want a boyfriend. I need a boyfriend. I'm like, a boyfriend is not a necessity. He is an accessory. Like,
Yeah.
he is a necessity. He adds to the outfit. Like he a handbag, but he's not the whole
Yeah.
all of that. Girl, calm
Yes,
down.
strut it out.
Like no. So no, I love that, and the celebrating by yourself. No, it's so true. I really appreciate you diving in and just being so vulnerable with your stories, and people really really need to read it because there's so many different lessons and levels about just like family and like you and your having your daughter and that journey and that part and the being. I don't know if you want to share, but the chapter being yanked out of the closet, that was like a really uh that was a very emotional chapter because it's just like someone kind of took your choice out of your hands, but also you found the blessing in that whole situation of now I could just it is what it is and be me, and but just the way it went down just wasn't the best of ways, but you can elaborate and tell and like
Yeah,
tell the
again,
story.
it just to kind of,
Mm.
I was forced out of the closet. The guy pretty much was threatening to tell everybody that I was gay and that we messed around, and it was a mess. And and me being popular back home, it's just like he just kind of puppeteered and made me do things, and just simply because I didn't want anybody else to know it. So it finally got to the point where I was just fed up, and I just like do what you got to do because like I had to really pull back and really gain control of myself because I was so depressed and wasn't eating. I was thin as a rail, and just really because I was walking on eggshells, knowing that as a walking time bomb any day now this could be exposed. And finally, I just got to a place of just like I had to just say, "Do what you're gonna do," and he did exactly that. But again, like a lot of times, things might seem so dark and so like it's the end, and simply it's the beginning.
Right.
It like if he wouldn't have did that, who would I be today? Would I be this DL man living a lie, or just unhappy? And so it's like you kind of have to know that everything is going to happen the way it's supposed to happen. And like I said, dark times don't always mean bad. Dark times don't always mean that negative. Negative. It's sometimes it's a lot of positive that's leading you towards becoming your real authentic self. And he died on my birthday from HIV, from AIDS. But I was able to tell him while he was at the hospice that to thank him, because if he again didn't do that, where would I be today? So I really really wanted to let him know that I forgive him and ask him, could he please forgive me? Because I learned so much in that process about myself, and I'm living my true self because of something that seemed so bad and so life threatening and like the end of doomsday, but it ended up being the best thing that ever happened to me.
Exactly. And the best thing that happened to honestly all of us, because you being your true authentic self, we got to experience you. We got to know you, because who's to say how long you would have hid in the closet and never came out to express yourself, and now we get to enjoy the beauty that you create and
Thank
the tie that you are, the free, fashionable, amazing person that you are. Now we get to experience it because you were able to be your authentic self. So I thank him too for,
you.
for that, just gifting us this beautiful person that we have in front of
Thank
us. Well, y'all have out, but he's in front of me. I watch him on the Zoom, but just this
you.
beautiful human being that you were able
Thank
to
you.
become. Yeah, I love it. And so many different, all the different amazing things that you did, like when you stepping back from just from Beyonce and stuff like that, and stepping into your own thing and creating your own brands, and the ring light. I remember that, and that was so dope. And your clothing line and all your speaking things. And oh, that's what I wanted to talk to you, because I remember you was in. It was a part in the book that you talked about. When you started doing your motivational speaking, and just you know being able to be more comfortable in front of crowds and speaking in front of crowds. A piece of that spoke to me when you said, when I was in front of all these people that I didn't think would relate to me, and then I just became my raw, authentic self, and realizing that that's what worked and that's how I could get comfortable. That resonated to me, because that's how it was when I was starting to create my podcast. I was trying to be, in the beginning, it just wasn't working. It was just like kept trying to start, and I was gonna do this, and then I was like, but in my head, I'm trying to have this Oprah moment. I'm like, girl, you ain't Oprah. Like, what's going on? Because I'm like trying to be like her, like dot my I's and cross my T's, and just be who I really wasn't. And then I said, you know what, screw it. I'm just gonna be who I want to be. I'm just gonna be
Yeah.
raw, say what I want to say. If who's for me is for me, who's not for me is not for me. But just being your real authentic self, raw, uncut, and sharing
It,
and
it,
being open.
yeah, it's definitely a game changer when you're yourself. That's why a lot of times people, when they hear themselves on the radio, when they see themselves on TV, they don't like the way it looks or sound. It's because of course, when we get on TV or certain things, we elevate a little bit more. But it's like you have to learn that I'm country. I'm from Texas. I might say I'm finna do something or something that you just don't understand, that ghettoism that I have in me, being a Southern boy from the South. But I just literally learned to just be myself, and you know, and it's once you're your authentic self, and I'm very transparent, and I just put out what I want to receive, and I just really think that was a game changer. Just simply be yourself. And because when you put on the front of the side and you're acting, you got to keep that up.
Right. Exactly.
So I ain't got time to remember the lie that I told y'all yesterday. I better just tell you the truth, child.
I was just getting ready to say that. Now you gotta remember, like, who was I yesterday, and now you got
Yes,
ain't nobody got time for that. Ain't
yeah.
nobody got time for that. No, it's so true, and I love that, and I love that about you, and I love that you said that in that piece, because when I read that, I was like, yeah, it validated, like, okay, yeah, so I'm doing the right thing, like being yourself, being yourself. So, like, I really, really thank you for taking out this time, like, to talk to
Thank you.
me and to talk to my listeners. And so, what is next? I know you have the book, and what's next? What can we expect to see or hear from Ty?
Another book.
Yes.
I have handbags coming out.
Yes.
My own TV show as well that nobody really knows. You're the first to hear it today.
Yes.
And just a lot of blessings. God is showing out daily, and I'm just ready to live in my season and live my purpose. And I'm just excited for all the upcoming things that are about to happen. And Tamron Hall comes on tomorrow, Friday. I did Tamron Hall this week, and I'm just like really, 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 really excited for what's about to happen. And I was telling her, like, we always, back in the day, I'd be like, why me, Lord? Billboards in Times Square, why me, Lord? A collaboration with Foot Locker. Like, I wasn't able to really process these blessings that were coming in, because it's like, wow, like it was an abundance of like, wow. But he really has, and the higher powers and energies is just really showing out. And it's like, I'm ready. Why not me?
I was just getting ready to say that. Why not you?
Why not? I'm ready, and so I'm just really excited. This book has been a journey, and and it's so lightening and uplifting to just get these things off of me, these dark, and I just wanted people to know, you're not alone, and touch people in a way, being a caretaker for both of my parents, who were both diagnosed with cancer at the same time, being shot in both of my legs, coming and being pushed out of the closet, being gay, being a gay parent, all these things that, were really, really trying times in my life. I just wanted people to know, because, social media and things like that are places where we just put on highlight reels of the good things, and, but I wanted people to know, and just touch people in a way to let them know you're not alone. I see you. And I just wanted to get my story out.
I love it. How was the process of writing it? Because like I've been saying, I want to write a book about, about just my meditation, my spiritual journey. But like, how was that process? Because you said that it was therapeutic, and I do remember like starting to write when I like starting to write my book, and then I was talking about my childhood, and I had to take a pause because I was just like,
oh yeah, it was like I wrote the book with Isla Mel. Isla Mel wrote Project Runway. Isla Mel wrote New York Fashion Week. She's an amazing individual. I wanted to get this book out, and sometimes you got to realize, this was like in the making for a couple of years, but sometimes you like, if you want to do things, sometimes you're like, I can't do this alone, Lord. I need help. Send me that right person. And so I'm blessed for her and the team that I built in the process to just get this out. And the quality was important, and just beautiful. Everything about it was important to me. And so just to be aligned with such great people to allow my dream to become real was just amazing. And like I said, this was very therapeutic, and it was overdue. And the timing, a lot of times we like, this needs to happen at this time. Timing is important, but when it happens, that's the time it was supposed to. And so, you just got to trust the process, and just, be thankful for the timing. And like I said, learn to live in the process. And just, if you can, just anything, a goal, a dream, anything you want to do, even if you're in a 9-to-5 right now, you're like, this ain't where I'm supposed to be. What are you giving that other ambition and dream? Like, I really believe if you give an hour or two a day, even doing your 9-to-5, if you just dedicate an hour to that vision or that dream, and be it that's, simply just doing some research on the computer, or just making a few phone calls. So when your dream, or when it's time for that bomb to explode of that beautiful thing you wanted to, you are fully knowledged on every single aspect of it, from the inside and the outside. You learn the behind the scenes of that dream, learn the business part of that, all of that is important. So I just want people to know that I'm a country boy from Texas who had a vision and a dream. I was in Austin, Texas, where none of this big Hollywood stuff was happening. But I knew that I wanted more, and I knew that, there was something bigger out there for me. And so you just got to really just take the leap, and really, believe that it's going to get, and it's not easy. There are times where you're like, what did I just do? And pressure is going to come through. There's times when the money ain't looking like it's supposed to look. And that still happens every blue moon. But at the same time, it's the most rewarding feeling knowing that I have my life in my hands, and I'm moving and I'm driving this vehicle in the way that I want to. And, that's a blessing in itself. And I'm doing things that I want to do, and learning to say no to things, like, no matter what it is. If your soul don't want to do it, no.
Exactly.
No, I'm not going to be able to go to your birthday party. I'm tired. I'll take you to dinner next week when I'm better. Or, no, I'm not going to do this. Like, just learning to say no has been a game changer too. So just know that No one has a remote control of your life to make you happy, mad, and sad. You have full control of this thing, and you have to just really believe that I want to be happy. I want to be happy. I want to do all the things that I want to do while I'm here. And in the process of doing the things I want to do, if you just impact people in a positive way, being like simple things as just giving people compliments, change people's life. It's just, you just never know. And I make it a point to just touch as many people as I can daily in a positive light, because those same people that you're looking down upon could be the people that are at the top tomorrow. So just simply just put out what you want to receive, and life just gets so much better.
I love it. I love it. Ty just dropped some jewels, y'all. So I hope y'all taking notes because that is definitely that's the truth. Choosing happiness. That is the course of this whole journey of this whole podcast, pursuing happiness and finding your happiness and creating it and choosing it. So guys, look out for everything that Ty got coming, and I'm sure it's more and more. I can't wait to finish reading this book. And it's a beautiful book, people. Also, it's just like the pictures and everything. It just takes you on this journey. Just it's definitely well put together, and it's an experience. And I was able to like read through it so fast. Like I just spent my morning like, oh, okay, it's so good. It's just so interesting.
Everybody's been telling me it's like a 24-hour book. It's like once you start it, it's like a movie. It's crazy, but it literally is a movie.
It is a movie. Like no, literally. Like a lot of when I was reading, I was like, okay, this needs to be a movie.
Made sure that it was an easy read. You know, because I'm not a book reader myself, and I'm actually going to do the Audible soon too. So I'm really excited about that. It's 4 days in the studio, but I know because I'm not a reader myself. But I'm going to go do the Audible for those that are not readers. But yeah, my book is available. Barnes and Nobles. You can get it on Amazon. It's tytryone.com, tytryone.com. You can get it. It's Target, Walmart, and most bookstores. And I'm just really excited, and I wanted to get in as many hands as possible. Just for the message in itself and the Thai takeaways that I do at every ending chapter. It's just like, this was my journey. I wouldn't change a thing because it made me who I am today, but I'm just like, I went this direction, I went left, but if you go right, these things can happen.
I love that too, the Thai takeaways. Like, that is so amazing. So everybody go out there and you get this book, and y'all know where to follow Ty, but if you don't, I don't know who y'all are that don't know. But whoever y'all are, go follow Ty on Instagram and
everything. Ty Tryone, Tytryone. A lot of people think it's Tyrone, which it should have been, but it's not. But Ty Tryone, Tytryone on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, everywhere.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So thank you so much.
Thank you. And I'm proud of you. Congrats on everything. Thank you for having me on the show.
Of course. Thank you so much. It's been a blessing. So this is gonna start off the new season, and it's gonna be beautiful. I can't wait for everyone to hear it. Bye.
Awesome. Bye.